Hi. I'm so sorry. My computer was muted. So I didn't hear the ring.
It's alright. We're streaming right now. Hi.
Hi. Hi, stream. My Discord doesn't like to tell me when my sister calls. It's mean.
It's quite mean. I cannot believe you. Alright. I'm just making the call to the world saying that I'm streaming. So, dear sister, are you ready?
Yes. What are you gonna be playing? Or streaming?
I'm just gonna be doing some animation, and you have the floor. Just give me a moment.
Awesome. I'm aware computer.
Hello everyone. If you're wondering what music we are playing today, it is Sparkbird by the artist Sparkbird. I actually got express permission. to
Wait, really? That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they're streaming. Yo, could I use it for my streams? And Sparkbird, Steven Nance was like, yeah. No promises that it won't get automatically copyright stricken, but we're just going to hope. That's the best you can do. Yeah.
There we go.
I am completely like just vibing here. Okay. So, for people who do not know, Kunea, my sister, would you like to introduce yourself? Or do you want me to introduce you?
I can introduce myself. Hi, I'm Silvera's older sister. I really like birds and video games and other stuff. And it occurs to me that I'm very bad at introducing myself.
You are.
So you want to take over because clearly I'm not doing very well.
No,
you
that's
can tell
fine.
why one of us is the streamer and one of us is.
So, my dear sister here is an avian educator. That's your life's work, I would say.
My career, yeah, basically.
Yeah, and you've kind of dedicated your life to birds, in a way, which is really cool. And you know, I always want my sister to come in on streams and talk about all the great things about birds and just teach us some stuff.
They are pretty great.
You do a lot of education with environment and bird conservation and education in that, and I think it's really cool. And if you've been to any of my other streams, I talk about my sister a lot in them. So here she is. There's one stream that you guys can't see that my sister was in, and if I get to editing it, it may be posted on my YouTube. But until then,
Because I have anxiety.
Yeah. And that's completely fine. You know, anxiety happens.
And I'm very new to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So... Oh, hey, someone joined us.
Yeah.
There's 3 people now. And I mean, one of them is me, but...
People join, people leave. It's wonderful. And so,
Oh, someone just left. It's really people
okay.
join, people leave.
But, I am really excited to have you on. So you can tell people about, birds and, you know, environment and all that stuff, because to me it's really cool, and I keep on talking about how I want I want that. So everyone, welcome my wonderful sister. It's interesting.
What's interesting? Oh.
My Toon Boom isn't playing music, which does happen sometimes. That just means that I need to do a reboot of Toon Boom. Not too big. Don't worry, guys.
Wait, I didn't realize that you had the cherry necklace on the...
Yeah! If people
I
ever
love that art.
I have a lot of cherry imagery, and a big part of that is because of my sister. There we go.
We share an inside joke. For those of you that have ever played Animal Crossing, you'll know that there's different fruits in different towns. Well, growing up, we shared Animal Crossing on the GameCube, which we played a lot. And our main one was cherries. We also eventually got pears and peaches, because we didn't know anyone else with the game, so it took a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, at one point, Silvera here asked me, like, oh, what do you think my favorite fruit is? And I was like,
I
peach,
put money
no,
on this.
pear, no. Cherry, and I just kind of started repeating cherry over and over, so...
Peach, no, pear, no, cherry.
Like that.
And so... I'd put money on this, by the way, which is why you started panicking and going cherry.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you put money on it.
I think I put down like $10. I was like, I'll give you $10 if you can guess. It was cherry, but that was third guess, so no money was won.
You didn't specify a number of guesses.
Anyways, birds.
Birds.
I wanted to open this up with the American kestrel.
I love kestrels so much.
Yeah, I wanted to open this up immediately with one of your favorites, the kestrel, and one thing I know of something that can help kestrels is getting kestrel boxes. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I actually don't know much about kestrel boxes.
So a little background. American kestrels are amazing. They're the smallest falcon species in North America. So you might have heard of like the peregrine falcon, fastest animal on the planet, can dive at 242 miles per hour, which is pretty insane. Kestrels are like the smaller version of them because they're about the size of like a robin, maybe a little smaller than that. They can dive at 70 miles per hour, and they're really incredible what they do. So falcons, so they eat a lot of insects. So if you have bug problems, kestrels will take care of it. But also they will hunt mice and other rodents, and they hunt other birds, including birds as big as or even slightly bigger than they are, which is really cool. Plus, falcons also have this thing called a tomial tooth. It's like an extra notch in their beak, and when they catch their prey, they use it to bite the neck and sever the spinal cord, which is pretty metal for a tiny little colorful bird that is easy to mistake as a little songbird.
The toenail tooth, what other, do you know like some other broad spectrum birds that have that? Because I remember hearing that in one of Sparkbird's songs, toenail tooth, and a loggerhead shrike.
I guess, I wonder if loggerhead shrikes also have them.
I don't know.
Entirely possible, since their dinky little feet aren't going to do any damage. But basically, toenail tooth is an adaptation that falcons have. So kestrels, peregrine falcons, gyrfalcons, merlins, they all share this. And the advantage is getting to slip it in between the vertebrae and really quickly snap the spinal cord is a really quick way to get your prey to stop fighting back. It's just a really effective way of subduing their prey before they want to eat it. And you were mentioning the nest boxes, and that's because kestrels are cavity nesters, so instead of building a nest out of sticks, they like to find a nice little, a hole in a tree or something, like a dead tree, but as humans, we like to cut down dead trees, which makes sense because oftentimes they do present a safety hazard. If you don't have to cut down a dead tree, leave it up because it provides a great environment and like habitat for all sorts of wildlife, but also nesting for kestrels, but also a lot of other cavity nesters, like a lot of owls. But if you can't do that, then especially if you're in an area favorable to kestrels, putting up a nesting box, like a bluebird box, but kestrel sized, a little bigger, is a really great way to help them because that helps make sure that they have a place where they can nest and raise young.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And kestrels often like open areas like meadows and plains and stuff. And that's because they'll hover over, so they can actually hover in place. They'll hold their wings out and use it to balance, and they'll keep their head in the exact same place while they look at the ground below them, and they'll catch any movement before they dive down and catch their food. So, yeah, I love kestrels. But it's a pretty cool thing they do. So if you're like in a super forested area, probably not to attract kestrels. That would probably be more like an owl, like a small owl or something. But if you're in that open area, that would definitely be a possibility. And also, they are affected a lot by pesticide use because a significant portion of their diet is insects. So, just generally, if you don't have to use a pesticide, then try not to. Like, there are some instances in which, like, for safety or whatever, that, like, you have to if there's an infestation. But if you try to minimize the use, that is really great because in the ecosystem there are lots of things that eat bugs, and we don't want to accidentally poison them.
Yes. I know that we don't use any pesticides anymore. With our family at least.
Yeah.
Which we pushed for, especially after getting chickens.
Yeah. And like, oh hey, Burn Station.
Hey!
Hoggies indeed.
We are here, doing some avian education and some animation. So, welcome. I'm a friend of the avian, yes!
Yay! Be a friend of birds. That is amazing.
Something else that I've actually...
Fact...
Oh, yeah?
Oh, you said something about owls. Owls are great.
Yes.
Very charismatic and very fantastic. Owls, like most raptors, have really great sight, fun fact about a lot of owls, though, is that they actually have pretty terrible close-up vision. So, like, right in front of their face, they'll actually use some of the feathers on their face to feel, like, what it is that they've caught to make sure that it's, ready to be eaten.
I'm still buzzing you. Hell yeah.
They really are incredible hunters. Like, you told me if you told me to be like a barn owl and like, here, it's pitch black, go catch a mouse in a field, I'd be like, heck no, I'd fail at that. But they just do such a great job.
They are truly incredible. I love owls. I remember for a while we had some barred owls near us. I kind of miss them.
Yeah, barred owls are pretty cool, and we're originally from like the east where barred owls are native. So, but oh yeah. Cool. Yeah, but barred owls are a bit of a concern in the Pacific Northwest because they've been outcompeting northern spotted owls. Ooh, cool. Yeah, barred owls have the classic who cooks for you all call. And overall just very well adapted and very generalist. Like there are some owls like barn owls that are like rodent specialists or focus on one thing. Barn owls will eat pretty much whatever they catch. A lot of small mammals, but they'll even catch like fish. And sometimes when they do that, the undersides of their wings get a little bit pink. If they're eating like a lot of crayfish and or fish.
I have something to ask you, Kunea.
Yeah.
So, because I know you also go birding.
You also like fish a lot. Yeah. Although I think the fish you eat and the fish they eat are very different.
So, do you know what a sparkbird is? I'm guessing. It's the bird that gets you excited about birding and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know Sparkbird.
Yeah. What was yours?
Oh, you have a koi pond. Oh, I can also see how that would present an issue. Yeah. If you have any osprey around, they will probably also try. But luckily, there's not like any major waterways. You're probably not getting any because they're usually around like ponds or rivers or something. Now I know what a sparkbird is. Sparkbirds are. Wait, the name of the musician suddenly makes sense.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So I wanted to ask what your sparkbird is, Kunea, because I know you've been into birds for a very long time, and I actually never asked you this.
Can I say all of them?
Was there any special bird that got you initially really excited? Because I know you
I think I've always been fascinated with birds. I definitely have a real soft spot for the black-capped chickadee, especially watching them like at our bird feeders and just like watching their antics really kind of just inspired me a little bit, and it's definitely something that caught my attention initially about birds. But also, I've gone through various phases in my life. Like in middle school, I was a huge penguin phase, like huge. So you could almost say that as well. Like penguins were, because I got really into it, and even though I still love them, it's
to a lesser extent.
I also love more birds as well. And then we also have backyard chickens, and I have a parrot. So, kind of a mix. I don't know if there's one specific sparkbird I can say. Although that you did mention the song earlier that got me thinking. I do have some birds that are like lifeless birds, like birds I want to see sometime in my life.
Yes.
One of which is a shrike, either loggerhead or northern, because shrikes are so cool.
There's a lot of talk in the songs I listen to about shrikes.
Because shrikes are so cool.
Shrikes are really cool.
They're predatory songbirds, but like not predatory like worms, but predatory like lizards and mice. And instead of raptors, which have really powerful feet that they can grasp with sharp talons, they don't have any of that. They have like normal little songbird feet. They're like little sticks. So instead they have that. They have a curved beak like raptors do. That's sharper than other birds that like eat seeds and stuff. And they will catch their prey and stab it on stuff. Like barbed wire. They will catch their food by stabbing on barbed wire.
Which is metal as fuck.
It really is. And like, this is a tiny little bird. Like, it is a songbird. Another bird I'd like to see is a blue-gray gnatcatcher, because they have little angry eyebrows and they're adorable.
A blue-gray gnatcatcher.
Mm-hmm.
What a name.
And another one is the long-tailed tit, although that one's not native to North America, so I would have to travel to see that one. But like, let me send you a picture. This is
unless you want them to see all of our conversations on Discord, you know.
Okay. Can I post a link?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the only mod, so I don't think I'm gonna ban you.
Cornell Lab of Ornithology is an amazing resource.
We love Cornell.
Yeah, Cornell Lab of Ornithology, fantastic, amazing. They make Merlin Bird ID a free app to help you ID birds via image, sight, sound. And they also have all about birds, including the blue-gray gnatcatcher. So that picture is going to be a little more information about them, and also some pictures of tiny little songbird with just angry eyebrows.
Oh, this is the angry eyebrows one.
Yeah.
Oh, I know which one.
It is blue and gray, but it also looks angry about something.
I want to know more about conservation, because I think avian, like stuff like that, is really cool. And everyone here must abide by what I feel like is fun. So okay. More questions. What's one of your favorite birds to do like education with?
That's hard. There's some that, like, you know, everybody loves owls and stuff. But I also like bringing out some of the other birds that people maybe don't get to see up as close as much, because sometimes they're birds, like, for example, a red-tailed hawk. There's a lot of places that have them as ambassadors, and people think, oh, it's a red-tailed hawk, they're everywhere. Like, A, we want them to stay everywhere because they're really important. But also, they're a really fascinating species that I think, because they're so common, can be kind of underappreciated. But once you see one up close, you kind of gain that extra, like, oh, these are really amazing birds that you might not otherwise know. That also working with kestrels, because a lot of people don't realize how small raptors can be, because they think like, an eagle. But they don't think about tiny little birds that are hunting, insects and mice and stuff. And then also, occasionally I've worked with other species that are maybe just less commonly known than, say, a red-tailed hawk. And that's also cool, getting to introduce someone to an entirely new species they might have never heard of.
Yes.
Um,
So can you tell what's one of your favorite things to talk about when doing education? Because genuinely, because I don't know how much you want me to say about what you do, but one thing I want to drive home to people is like, what can people do at home to help their local bird populations?
yeah, so honestly, a lot of conservation stuff is really easy actions. It's really easy to feel overwhelmed by conservation and feel like, how can you do anything? But a lot of it is small changes. Like, for example, if you're driving along the side of the road and you're eating a snack, when you're done with it, don't throw it out your car window. Now, most people know not to litter, but say it's like an apple that you ate. Well, if you throw that apple core out, that'll attract mice to the roadside, which will then attract raptors like hawks and what have you. And they're really good at learning patterns, and they're also really good at looking for easy food like roadkill. So if you keep things like that in your car till you get home, where you can like compost them or just get rid of them not next to the road, that can drastically reduce the number of collisions. And the number one reason most raptors go into rehab centers all across the country is because of collisions, usually with cars. So, just a really small thing, not tossing food waste out your car window, can make a big difference in, you know,
Yeah.
how many birds get hit. So,
And another thing.
and let's see what else.
Yeah.
Also, one of the other things you can do is just, if you get inspired by something about conservation or about whether it's a story you hear or a species, share that passion with someone, because sharing that inspiration, that knowledge, a lot of people just aren't aware about, you know, we have a really big world and there's some really fascinating things. So, kind of sharing that interest, excitement, or passion. Or if you just hear like a story that's heartwarming or just really uh a story that just makes you kind of like believe in humanity and stuff, sharing that also can go a long way, because feeling like you can do something is really conducive to actually being able to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I did not word that as eloquently as I'd hoped, but
It was fine. One thing I do want to interject is I hear a lot of people who, like, quote unquote, like, raised young of a bird that they found. Um, and while that makes for cute videos and fun stories, I would like to say and interject right here, don't do that.
yeah, I can speak a
um,
little more to that if you'd like.
yes, please do, because
So,
you know
so a
that's
lot
tough.
of people, they find a baby bird and they think, oh, it needs help. So there's a few things. One, if you have concerns, call your local wildlife rehabilitator. especially if it's a bird, if there's one specialized in birds. And that is because a lot of times what people think is a bird in trouble is actually just a fledgling leaving the nest with their parents watching closely from a tree or something. So you might not be able to see the parents, but they're watching their young. But sometimes it's very obvious, like, oh, this bird is 1 day old, it's on the ground. In that case, you still want to call them, and usually, hi, hello gamers, hi unironic username 1.
Hey, irony.
And basically the best parents to raise a baby bird are birds. Because there's some things that we just, as humans, simply can't teach birds. And so generally the first priority is to hand them back to their parents, but if that's not an option, if they can't be returned back, you want to give them to a wildlife rehabilitator, because that's how they can get the highest chance for success. Also, it's illegal to try to raise them on your own. Like, all native birds are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and basically that means you can get serious fines and even possibly jail time for possession of or disturbing or any of that with native birds. Any birds that you can't hunt. If you can hunt a bird, that's separate, and, like, if it's, I don't know what species, like, some kind of, like, hunt, then it's a little bit different, compared to, say, like, I don't know, a bald eagle. But, yeah, so one thing that rehabbers will do with baby birds is, baby birds are, a lot of species are able to do what's called imprinting. And that's how they learn what species they are, what they need to look for a mate and stuff. And normally they're looking at their parents and their siblings, and it's like, okay, clearly I'm a bird. But this is a really important developmental process for them. And if they're looking at humans, that gets kind of messed up, and it's irreversible. And if they look at humans, then they get confused, and they usually end up becoming nuisance birds because they think we're competition, and so they'll bother people, or they won't be able to, find food on their own, and they'll come begging for people, which might seem cute until you realize that can also lead to aggression. And so to avoid that, we use puppets or pictures of that species, and you cloak yourself so they'd never see the human, and you don't make noise. All of that is an effort to increase their chances of developing properly and being able to be released. And in order to rehab birds, it's like a very specialized skill set. If you are interested, you can look to your local wildlife rehabilitators and ask to volunteer, because a lot of them are small operations that would love volunteers. But just trying to take into your own hands usually does not end well.
Yes. I'll admit,
Yeah, baby birds,
of...
if you've been alive for 5 days, you don't really know much about the universe. Or existing.
Yeah,
You'd handle it. Good for you.
So, like, I love, all kinds of birds. I would say that the bird that got me excited into, birding and taking care of birds is, chickens.
Yay.
One namely Silky Chicken, and I did talk about, our journey with Silkies, in another stream. And our journey into getting chickens. But there are some people who sort of villainize birds because they're predatory, and I'd like to talk about that for a second. So like blue jays, they're kind of bullies of the bird world. And something that people need to remember is that you cannot like equate human ethics and human ideologies onto birds, because it's just simply like not the same thing. I'm echoing on your end, my dear sister. And so I would like to get your input on that and how to stop this sort of bird discrimination, because some people do go out and try and hurt the more bullies of the bird kingdom, like blue jays.
Yes, like why blue jays have that reputation, or
More of how to stop it, but also you can talk about why they have that reputation.
yeah, I mean, it's true. Blue jays are corvids, which is a family within the songbirds. That's like jays, ravens, crows, and they all tend to be pretty smart, and they're also pretty social, and they tend to be in groups. Blue jays are also larger on average than a lot of other smaller songbirds, and that combined means that they're really good at being a group and pushing birds out of, say a feeder because they want it. But yeah, like Silvera said, it's very easy to anthropomorphize or kind of put our human feelings, thoughts, emotions onto birds when their processes are very different, and there are some ways in which we literally cannot understand them. But also, they're a really important part of the environment as much as any other bird, and I think coming to understand, like, not necessarily the way they work with other birds, but in and of themselves, like, how they work with each other. For example, a lot of corvids are very family-centric. Like, crows and ravens will, like, live in family units, and they'll watch out for one another, and it's really something quite special to see those connections, and also to see, like, they learn from one another. They learn where things are, they learn how to do things, and that fascinates me personally, but also hopefully gives you a little more appreciation into how they function, that, like, they're not trying to bully other birds because they want meat. They're just trying to survive like everyone else. And I also think, honestly, blue jays are quite beautiful. And the patterning is quite special. Like, really saying beautiful, and I think also just observing, appreciating, like, they exist. They're beautiful. They're really cool. And, like, it's okay if you don't love them. It's okay if blue jays aren't your favorite bird ever. But if they're not, just, like, let them be,
Yeah.
Also, again, for most bird species, disturbing them and trying to actively harm them stuff is illegal. And so, like, you shouldn't do it anyways, but that's just
Yeah. Yeah, don't harm birds, and also don't collect their feathers unless you know for certain that it is not a migratory bird, because
even if you think you know for certain, don't. Honestly, because A, there's the chance you could be wrong because there's some birds with very similar feathers. And also B, like, I love birds. I am, number one bird fan, but also wild birds, they got diseases and stuff, and
sorry.
or mites, and just
Oh yeah, they can have.
they can be kind of gross. Not gonna lie, and so it's probably better, like, just sanitary wise, to just leave it where you found it. It'll also get used by something else. Like birds will take feathers like that and put them into their nests, or so on and so forth. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that people realize Migratory Bird Act is like a thing, because you see a lot of YouTube videos of people being like, I raised this this bird protected by the Migratory Bird Act. And whenever I see those, I'm like, no.
yeah. And I do work with a lot of birds, but I also do it with the necessary permits, of which there are many, or with facilities that have said permits. You have to go through a lot of steps with different levels of government, different agencies, in order to even be able to handle these birds, let alone, house them or handle them or any of that. And it's a very long process, and so if you're, a place that wants to do education or something, or falconry, then it might be worth it. But for most people, like, it is a lot of work.
Yeah, also, we should have a Migratory Bird Act secret police. I wish I'd be a part of that.
Yeah.
The only police that I trust.
As someone who has done education with birds, the amount of people who will come up to me after I say that and go like, "Oh, I didn't know that," and like tell them themselves, like, "Oh, I take XYZ feathers." I'm like, please don't. I am not the bird police. I'm not the one that enforces that. Yeah. However, if there is like U.S. Fish and Wildlife and they see you have like clearly a native bird, they're like in your hat or whatever, they're fully able to fine you and or arrest you. Except I will state that there are a few exceptions. For example, many indigenous people in the United States use, for example, eagle feathers as part of important religious ceremonies. That's an exception, and most of them get their feathers. Actually, there's a National Eagle Repository where feathers that come off of like eagles in captivity or deceased ones go and are then distributed to those groups. And in that instance, it's very completely legal for them to have that. But that's typically more of an exception because the vast majority of people are not using it for that, but rather because they think it's pretty or what have you.
Yeah. My favorite pastime actually is to go to Etsy and find all the people selling native bird feathers and report their accounts. Report their listings. Because some of them just genuinely don't know that they're breaking the law. And so, you try to give them benefit of the doubt.
You'll see a lot of people who are like, they're gathered, sourced ethically, which means that, from molted feathers, because naturally birds will lose feathers and regrow new ones. But the law doesn't care about that. Like, it's just possession of.
Yeah, possession, selling.
Now, of course, if you were to, like, steal an entire bird, that would be a different story, and it would be a lot worse. But and the other thing is, there's some people who sell on Etsy internationally. Oh, absolutely. Ask away. All the bird questions.
Everyone,
I am
please,
bird lady.
Please definitely ask questions. My sister here, Kunea, is an avian educator in life. So
I am the ultimate bird nerd. I'm not the ultimate bird nerd, but I'm very much a bird nerd. What are some weird bird behaviors that you can display?
Oh boy.
Do you have a specific, like, what kind of bird it's based on, or like what family?
I would like to already throw my hat in the ring with dust bathing. Because if you've vultures, dude.
Vultures! I love vultures.
You've
Something
opened
that
the
vultures
floodgates.
do that is vultures will actually sun themselves, so they'll spread out their arms and soak up the sunlight. Now, reasons for that is just kind of enjoying the sun, but also it's thought to kill off any parasites or anything because they eat those carcasses. So that's something, sunbathing. Also, vultures, when they are feeling threatened, one of their responses is to vomit. So, like, a nervous or anxious vulture when feeling threatened. So like, there have been, I know people who have worked in rehab and have been trying to like administer medicine to a vulture and then the vulture vomits on them. So that is absolutely a weird bird behavior, I think, because that's something more unique to vultures. Vultures also, this is maybe not something that you want to display, but they also, many species will poop on their feet to cool down. So
That I hate that fact.
yeah.
I would like to go back to the dust bathing.
Also, they have very strong stomach acid that can.
My character would do all of those.
You know what? Go for it. You know
dust
what?
bathing.
More power to ya.
When
please enjoy.
Please
also,
do.
Birds in general, like, they move their heads around a lot because they have more vertebrae in their neck than we do. So we have 7 bones in our neck. They, like most raptor species, which vultures are contested for that, but in this case also have like 14, twice as many, and they don't cut off their blood supply when they turn their head same amount. So
could
just turning their head at different degrees, especially because a lot of bird species have very limited to no ability to turn their eyes in their sockets, or like muscles to move their eyes back and forth. In terms of raptors, this is specifically raptor species, there are some birds that can look back and forth.
They have cognition with their beaks and head the same way we think with our hands, right?
I'm not sure about that. I can't say for certain. So do you mean like the way that we'll like move our hands while thinking?
I'd also like to talk about dust bathing for yeah. So
I'm not sure. That's birds, a lot of ways that birds explore the world is through their beaks. That's like a major way most bird species interact with the world. So if you think about how we like interact with things using our hands, for most birds the equivalent is their beak. There's some exceptions. For example, parrots have pretty dexterous feet that they will use. So in that sense, yeah, but I don't know about like the way we might like spin our hands as we talk if they do stuff like that. I would have to look that up. It's a great question.
So I would like to say something about dust bathing finally.
Yes.
If anybody's ever seen a bird dust bathe, you know. I remember when I first saw a bird dust bathing, I was like, oh my god, it's having like a seizure or something, because they have to get it in every like little crook of their feathers. And so they just like roll around in it and bend their heads and bodies in ways that like I didn't know a bird could do at the time. And it can be a little worrying to see for the first time.
Yeah, you might think they're having a seizure. They're not.
Yeah, the same thing with sunbathing, at least for chickens. It looks like they're having an issue. They aren't. They're just chilling. But I do like that is, a thing. Yeah, Bing chillin. what, because I know that you talk a lot about, birds and their toes, especially when we
Yes.
look through, media with birds.
Well, because a lot of people get it wrong. Not all of it, so.
A lot of people do get it wrong.
A lot of birds, like songbirds, like chickadees, blue jays, etc., have the typical 3 toes forward, 1 toe back. A lot of birds have that. But people assume that's all birds, but that's not quite right. Parrots are what are called zygodactyl, which means they have 2 in front and 2 in back. And that allows them to have just more ability to manipulate with their feet. But also, owls, when they're perched, will typically have 2 forward and 2 back. But when they're hunting, when they go to catch their prey, they're able to bring one of those toes forward to have 3 forward and 1 back. An osprey/osprey are the opposite. When they're catching a fish, they'll have 2 toes in forward and 2 toes back, zygodactyl, to catch it and keep a good grip on it. But when they're perching, they'll have 3 in front, 1 in back. And then there's also other things as well. I believe woodpeckers are also zygodactyl with the 2 toes forward, 2 toes back.
Yes.
Fish fear us. Silvera, you need to get out your hat that says "Women want me, fish fear me."
You're right. I do need to get that hat out. For people who do not know, I own a hat that was given to me by my favorite little irony here that says, "Women want me, fish fear me." It's one of my favorite hats to wear. I gotta get my hat? Yeah. I think I have that hat in my car right now, though. But, it's one of my favorite hats. So, more birding, more... I am so happy I was able to finally get you on.
I mean, it is a chance for me to ramble about birds, which you know I love to do, so. My pleasure.
Thank goodness. Because I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been wanting to get Kune here for a little while now. But Kunea wasn't able to for a little while, so.
Bird tier list like families, not species.
Ooh. I mean, corvids are definitely in there.
Yeah.
You know, I know that. What other birds do you like? Because I know you have a love for kestrels.
Oh, absolutely.
What's Siobhan doing, by the way? Standing there menacingly. Here we go. There we go. We have been working on this for so long. Today is not a very art day. Yeah, if any of you guys know what that means, it's just that my art isn't looking as good. But that's okay. The great thing about this being storyboards is that it doesn't matter. Which is really nice. One of the last times I actually was working on storyboards, I was talking about the story when you got spanned from Pokemon.com.
Oh my
IP
god.
banned.
It was only temporarily.
You still got
it's
us
because-
IP banned.
Okay, so, well, so the PokemonCenter.com website, if you're looking at buying stuff, it doesn't like it if you're just opening up a bunch of tabs, like I was, because I was looking at the Sitting Cuties collection, which is amazing. In fact, I have 3 of them next to me. However, because I wanted to get them into different tabs to kind of tab between and decide which ones I wanted, it wasn't a fan of that because I did it too many times in too short a time. So I think it thought I was a bot.
Yeah.
So it just kicked me. It was like, nope. So I had to, I had to get my phone off Wi-Fi and buy them that way because
Got
it was
freaking IP banned from Pokemon. Which is one of my favorite stories to tell people because it's so unbelievable sounding. But that is my sister right there. And I posted that to YouTube, and the musician actually commented on it. Sparkbird, also known as Stephen Nance, commented, opened so many computers that it permanently ruined the computer.
I'm never gonna live that down.
No, but they felt it. They felt called out. So it's more common than you think. You're never gonna live it down, but we love you for it.
Sure. That's what they all say.
Hey, you know we
I
love
know.
you for it. Also, fun fact, my newest drawing glove, completely split down. So, I'm down to my old drawing glove, which is like 3 years old, and has been sewn up time and time again. It is a rough looking guy. And I need to sew it up again. Yeah. Got fucked up. Anyways. More bird stuff. What are the things that you enjoy talking about most when doing your shows?
I don't know. It depends on what people are interested in, I think the thing is getting people engaged.
Yes. And if you want to talk about this, I'm giving you the stage. If you don't, that's fine. I remember last stream you tackled one subject that you weren't super happy about. Would you like to try again, or are you just...
Not right now.
Yeah, totally fine.
It's a little too late for me to just be coherent.
Yeah. Totally fine. That's why I wanted to give it to you without, talking about it. Just so it's a little easier. Let me think. I mean, you know so much about birds. And birding. Would you like to talk about birding?
Birds are cool. Going out and watching birds do their thing in their natural environment is also very cool. I enjoy it. I recommend it.
We have a saying in our family, no birding while driving.
Well, okay, that's not exactly saying in family. One of the facilities I worked at doing education, there were a lot of birders. And so that was one of the rules for driving the vehicles. And so I brought that up because I was like, it's funny, but it's also a good rule. And so now whenever I see a bird, everyone goes, no birding while driving, even if at a glance I'm able to ID it. Even if I'm glancing out and I see, clearly a red-tailed hawk. Big red tail right there. I'm like, oh, red-tailed hawk. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm not birding. I'm glancing. Like, I'm not spending any amount of significant brain power or focus or anything away from the road. Just, I just naturally comment on birds I see.
You do. Would you like to talk about seagulls? Also, very difficult question, but silliest bird. What's the silliest bird, Kunea?
There's a lot of silly birds. Do you mean, like, silly in behavior, or just silly, like, looking?
I would say silly looking, the superb bird of paradise. Just putting that.
Oh, I decide. Because, like, the patu, with those big eyes and big mouth, is pretty silly. And a lot of birds of paradise are also very silly. Because that's what, that kind of selection does. But in terms of behavior, a lot of parrots and corvids do some pretty silly stuff, like just play, you know. More so than other species. So, like, I mean, there's all the videos of birds doing cute stuff, and a lot of times. And I know my bird personally, Pepper, is very silly.
Pepper is a lot of things.
And silly is one of them.
Silly is one of them. Actually, this evening, Pepper was just kissing. Because, Pepper, black-capped conure, she speaks, and I taught her how to kiss many, many years ago, because I'd go, "Hi, Pepper," and kiss her on the head. And so now, she just, like, kisses. And this evening, every now and then, she'd just go, like, "Oh, hey, Pepper." How's it going, Peps? But would you like to talk about seagulls and your fun fact about seagulls?
So the term seagulls isn't quite accurate. The birds are called gulls, but seagulls aren't a species. Most of the time, people are referring to herring gulls. I just think it's funny because they're like seagulls, and even I say seagulls, but they're gulls. Ta-da! That's a fun fact.
And I would like everybody at home to know this. Every single time we see a seagull,
not every single time.
You feel the need to share it with me. No, because if either of us like point out a seagull, you're like, fun fact, and it's great. It's great. It's a constant in my life. Because here's the thing, I do that too. Someone will be like, "Oh, look, a seagull," and I'm like, "Fun fact." Because if I have to know this, so does everyone else. You know, I know I sometimes tease you on stream.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I'd say that's an understatement at best.
Hey, I've held back. Come on, give me some credit where credit's due, man.
Fine.
So, Kunea is always telling me facts about birds, things about birds, stuff at work with the birds, which is wonderful. I love hearing about the birds that you work with. And I know we can't talk about the birds here. To my eternal dismay.
I know. I love the birds I work with, but in order to, maintain some level of, on the internet, of privacy, I'm not going to mention specific names of the birds. I might mention species, but probably only the more general species I work with that are found in a lot of places.
Yeah, and I've been careful to keep that because, it's important.
Which I appreciate.
Of course. Please.
I have a question, Sawyer.
Yes.
When there's people watching, do you count as one of those people?
I have no clue.
Huh.
I never know. But we've actually had more viewers than usual tonight.
Yeah, we had 5. I think we even had 6 for a few moments there.
We did, and what's incredible is that we are streaming this very, very late for us.
Later for you.
Later for me. For you it's somewhat of a normal time. For me it's 2 a.m. Bruv, what about yesterday? If you don't know, Irony is talking about how yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, or one of those days, I've been having like really weird dreams, and so I've been confusing reality for non-reality. It's a great time to be alive. But I did like a 4 a.m. stream, so this isn't the craziest time I've ever streamed. But we also did a Garfield card stream pretty late too. For anyone, check out twitch.tv/Silverly. Because I know I'm gonna be posting this to YouTube. I do stuff. So please, is there anything else you want to talk about, Kunea? Or are you done?
I think that's mostly for the moment, just because I've been talking a lot.
Yeah. Totally fair. Which means we will probably be leaving soon. Irony, yo. Favorite non-bird animal? Oh no.
Ooh. That's difficult, because most of my favorite animals are birds.
Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, my puppy.
Yeah, absolutely love dogs. Grew up with dogs, and they're pretty awesome. Bats. I also love bats.
Bats, oh god.
I love a lot of things. I love a lot of things that fly. Especially birds, but also bats, airplanes. There's some pretty cool bugs as well. In fact,
that's just cheating.
Bats are not just cheating, they are mammals. Bats are cool.
Bats are cool, and we have a thing about bats in our family. They're basically just bird too.
No, they are not.
No,
the method by which they fly is very different. Oh, also, I like snakes.
Snakes are really nice.
I really like snakes. I've worked with a number of them, and they are good.
Oh yeah.
So, bats and snakes. Snakes and bats. But honestly, I just love animals in general. Also dogs.
Yes. I do realize they're a bit closer to pterosaurs and means of flight, but like, still, come on. True. I would like to say, so,
are cool.
If people couldn't tell, we are both neurodivergent.
Yes.
Who would have guessed? Bird lady.
Listen, I like this one thing. I picked it, I stuck with it, and it's worked out for me thus far.
Yeah.
So.
And I've kind of followed you with it. My Discord, which definitely go on my Discord. Join my Discord. It's all bird themed.
There's a link below.
Link below, and that's as much self-promotion as I'm going to put in. it's all bird themed. But I want to do a Swift thing with neurodivergence, because you and I were talking about this recently, when I got, like, stuck on the floor. Which did happen. So everybody knows, I got stuck on the floor because I have issues, which is okay. We were talking about how for a while I hyperfixated on OSHA safety guidelines and protective equipment. I went so hard into that for a while. And this was before COVID, by the way, so when COVID came, I knew everything. I don't know what I'm doing with, like, this image. But at another stream, I'm definitely going to go on my tangent of PPE. Respirators and safety glasses / goggles are where I specialize. Which I think is pretty awesome. And you're being ominously quiet, my sister.
I just think it's funny.
You know, but definitely, I would like to have you on more often, and you don't even just have to talk about birds, you can talk about whatever the hell you want. Like, go nuts. Go absolutely wild.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah. I know I'm like opening the floodgates with that, but
You really are.
I really am. And when you... Ooh, I'm getting a DM. Oh, Irony was saying how he could come on as a guest and talk just about whatever the hell he wants to talk about. And I think I'm definitely going to have you on, Irony. Because I want to just have people on and just have them talk about what they love. Yeah, not tonight, obviously. Yeah, drunk and very tired. Which is what you are. I'm just very tired. But yeah, definitely at some point, I'm going to have just like guest stars, and you know, I'll be doing animation or, you know, something else. And I'll just have whoever, you know, just like talking about, you know, whatever the hell they want, that they're just like really knowledgeable on. You know, we do education here.
Birds. We do birds here.
We do birds here. We do a lot of bird stuff here. And if anybody wants to know more about birds, definitely join the Discord, ask questions. Ask questions in chat. I'm not as knowledgeable as my sister, but I still have a good amount of knowledge from you. And I quite proudly, you know, whenever I stream, I try and fit at least a few bird things in there, here and there, you know? Just because it's wonderful. Birds are great. And if you don't like birds, why? I know some people are like afraid of birds, and you know that's a fair thing to be afraid of. But not all birds are scary. Pigeons, not scary. Chickens, depending on how they're raised, not scary. So some chickens can be mean, depending on how they were raised. Our chickens, wonderful, very sweet.
Oh, sweetheart.
I loved our chickens. But yeah. I hope you all had fun this stream. It was great to have you guys here with us to learn about birds. And you know, ask questions. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for showing interest. My streaming is I try to stream as often as I can. So I'm hoping to stream tomorrow at some point. But if I don't, then I don't. You know. But I hope you all had fun. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, wherever you are. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Night. Bye-bye.